Okay, welcome to the second panel for 30 Days, 30 Ways UK. I'm Jo Madams. I'm one of the co-founders of 30 Days, and I'm also work for West Northants Council as an emergency planning manager. I'm joined today by some panel experts. I'm joined by, who I'll introduce later, by Tina Collett from Northamptonshire Fire and Rescue Service, and Tina's a prevention team leader. She's joined by a colleague, Andy Evans, who's the fire stopper. He's an arson task force leader as well. So they're here to give their expert opinions on the wildfire day. I'm also joined by Rachel McMahon, who is a flood resilience advisor from the Environment Agency. I'm also joined by Hazel Reeve, who's a Met Office advisor. So I'm here with all my experts standing by. But to start with, I just want to run through a few bits, if I can get to it, just a few bits to say about where we are at the moment with the campaign. So we joined the campaign, went live on last Friday, the 1st of September. September is Preparedness Month, and we've got loads of UK organisations working with us. Here you'll find the first day, North Yorkshire Council joined us on the second day, where we had Trusted Networks. Surrey Council talked to us about their community risk registers, and the emergency resilience and emergency from Wales to Sussex, talked a bit more about their community risk register link in their police website. We also had on the Trusted Network Day, Evacuation Cardiff talking to us about trusted networks and how to spot misinformation. And then we went on to talk about extreme weather on a severe weather day, the Emergencies Partnership, and also talked about mapping your risk on day 3, introducing what 3 words. On the severe weather day, we also have the Met Office Northern Ireland playing, and the Met Office nationally playing about weather ready, Northamptonshire Fire and Rescue, linked to the weather awareness about high weather, and links in with the wildfire day as well. Wessex Water then used weather aware about saving water to using rainwater to water your plants. And Greater Manchester are prepared also with the campaign, Communities Prepared, and the Emergency Planning Society saying, UK weather is nothing but changeable, as we can see at the moment with a little mini heat wave, and we'll talk to Hazel about that in a bit. But it's good to have the Emergency Planning Society endorsing the campaign. Sorry, while I switch back. Okay, there I am again. So to start with, I would like to talk a bit about the last couple of days. So the first day we sat with what risk. The second day was trusted networks, by building trusted networks and trying not to sort of weed through the misinformation that might be out there, especially in an emergency. We had the map your risks. So if you are about in the middle of nowhere, how do you know where to report to the emergency services where you are, and what 3 words is quite a good tool app that you can download to say to people where you are so they can find you. And lots of the emergency services are using What 3 Words at the moment. Day 4 was severe weather. Today is all about flood aware. Tomorrow is all about cyber safe, linking in with the National Cyber Security Centre. There's lots for individuals and families that they can do around cyber security and about changing your password. So that's tomorrow to look at. Day 7 is all about wildfires. One of the high risks that we have on our National Risk Register. Again, a lot of people probably aware, perhaps not aware, but there was a major incident declared across London last year where they had 10 separate wildfires at one time, and there were over 24,000 wildfires between last June and August, mainly due to the long dry weather. Now I want to come on to the panel now, because you're here to hear the experts speaking about their individual organisations and what you can do. So I'm going to bring on Hazel Reeve first, who's a Met Office advisor. So Hazel, can you tell us a bit more about the Met Office and what people can do to sign up for and make sure they're aware of what the weather's going to do?
Hi Jo, and good afternoon everybody. Yes, as Jo says, I'm a Met Office advisor and I'm here to advise people about the weather. At the moment, the weather is very dry and settled, and we've got some nice warm sunshine. But nevertheless, over the next few days, that sunshine is still quite strong, and that's something we need to be aware of. As we go into the weekend, though, as the high pressure that's sitting over us, drawing all the hot air off the continent, the near continent, as that high pressure drifts away eastwards, we get an area of low pressure coming in, and that's more unsettled weather, and that could give us some really heavy thundery downpours, particularly in western parts of the UK. So we need to be aware of that changing weather. We're fortunate living on an island, so we do get the variations in the weather, but sometimes that weather can cause us some issues. And when we think the weather is going to cause us some impacts, we have our weather warnings, and we put those out to everybody. We try and get the message right across the UK to everybody who it may concern, to let people know what to do during those times of the weather when we could see some impacts. It could just be a flooded road, or it could be, when it's windy, it could be a tree blowing down across the road you're trying to travel along. So there's lots of things we think about. How does the weather affect people? What does it mean to them about going about their daily work, or even their hobbies, if they're out over in the rural areas where it's very open, and if we have a thunderstorm we could see a lightning flash, and that could potentially be an impact. So we like to let you know about what to expect when our weather is rather misbehaving, shall we say. So we have our weather warnings, and we have red, amber and yellow weather warnings. Red is being the most significant, because that does bring with it, as do amber warnings, some danger to life. So we have to think about that. And our weather warnings, we think about what's the likelihood of that weather occurring and what impacts will that weather bring. So we issue our weather warnings. They're widely available. You'll hear them mentioned on the media, but we also have our Met Office web pages as well. And we send those warnings as far as possible right across the UK to reach as many people as possible. And on that weather warning, you will see where that warnable weather is occurring, and there's a matrix there, so a box of different colours in the bottom right hand corner, and there'll be a tick in one of those boxes there, and that's where we can see what the likelihood of the weather is occurring and what those impacts are likely to be. And on the weather warning, it will say very clearly what we are expecting and what those impacts could be that would affect you. So it's really important, if you hear the word weather warning, whether it's on the television or the radio or online, wherever your chosen media may be, you really need to take note and just check whether it's in your area or not. And also be aware of the weather forecast as well. That weather may not be affecting you at the moment, but it could be moving into your area, maybe where you're going on holiday, maybe where you're traveling to work. So it's just needing to be aware of that. And we're going into autumn now, so we need to think about those gusty winds that we may get, with some showers starting to occur. And also really towards the end of September and into October, we'll see those colder nights, and we might just get a touch of frost in those times and going through into the winter. So it might be you've been used to driving around in the warm sunny weather, and suddenly we'll have a cold night, and it might just be a bit frosty on the ground when you go out, and that could cause a few slips to occur. But as we go through into the winter, I know it's hot and warm, dry today, but thinking of going ahead towards the winter, we really need to be thinking about our weather warnings. So we have weather warnings for things like lightning, thunderstorms, strong winds, heavy rain, snow, ice, and fog. So we need to be aware of those elements of the weather in particular that may affect you as you're out and about, or even planning to go somewhere. It might make you decide to leave the house a little bit later or go a bit sooner. But whatever it may be, our website is there. There's an awful lot of information, lots of links to follow. So just take a look at that. And of course, nowadays we can see the weather on our mobile phones as well. So if you have that Met Office site downloaded, on the app downloaded onto your phone, you'll be able to have a look at the rainfall radar picture and see where those showers are and where that rain is moving to. So if you just bear that in mind when you're out and about, it just might help you that little bit more to be prepared for the weather. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. That was very informative. I know I use the Met Office app quite a lot, especially, to check the weather, see if it's going to rain. And the website is packed full of what individuals can do to help and know the weather warnings. So thank you for that, Hazel. Now I want to come on to before that, I'm going to say, if anybody wants to ask any questions, please use the question and answer function. I can have a look at that, and then I can address any questions to the panel as we go through. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, please do so. I'm now going to pass over to Rachel McMahon. So Rachel's a flood resilience advisor for the Environment Agency. I'll pass over to you now, Rachel. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Jo. Hi, Jo. Hi, everybody. Hazel, you might be reassured to know that I get your weather warnings directly through to my phone as well. I signed up for the emails of them. So yeah, always helpful for work and out of work purposes. So I wanted to tell people about our flood warning service that we have. So this is a service that we provide to help warn people of any flooding that might come from the river or for the seas. It's for the main rivers, so not all rivers, but all of the main rivers that we have in the country. The flood warning service is really good. We aim to give people a couple of hours notice of any flooding that might be expected. And our flood warning service, there's three different flood warning codes that we have. So, and there's some different actions that are associated with each of those codes. So the first warning that we issue is called a flood alert. So at that stage, we ask people to start preparing. So that means that we want them to think about a bag that they might need to take with them if they decide to leave their home, if the situation escalates. So things that they might want to keep in that bag. And this is obviously something that people could prepare and get ready now. So that's things like maybe like some food, some water, copies of any prescriptions that people have, or spare medication, spare pair of glasses, very important for people like myself, and things like copies of insurance documents, passports, that kind of thing. So at that stage, when the flood alert goes out, that's what we want people to do. And also to start looking on our website. So all of that information is on the gov.uk website, and check flooding is the way that you search for that to get that information, because then you can just enter your postcode, or you can enter the place where you live, and then it will bring up any sort of flood alerts or warnings that have been issued for that area. So that's the first stage of our flood warning service. So that's the flood alert. So the flood alert covers quite a big area, and what it means is that you might start to see floodwater on the roads and low-lying land. It could also possibly be on driveways and gardens, but at that time it's not expected to be in properties at all. So the next stage of the flood warning service, the next code is called a flood warning. So that's escalating up into the time when we think that you might get floodwater in your home. So at that stage, we kind of ask people to act. So we've got prepare, and then we move on to act for the flood warnings. And that's when we ask people to think about turning off their gas, water and electricity, moving things upstairs to safety, thinking about moving family members and pets, and moving the car out of the way, you know, things like that. People can think about doing that. And then the last stage in terms of our flood warning codes, it's called a severe flood warning. These are issued only very rarely, and it's where we expect to have like the danger to life, sort of real sort of emergency situation here. And at this stage, this is the survive bit. So it's kind of prepare, act, and then survive. And basically that means that, you know, we encourage people to follow any advice from the emergency services and to try and do all they can to keep their family and themselves safe from danger. So there are flood warning codes. So the flood warning service itself that people can sign up to, it's really easy to do that. They can either do that online, as I say, with that gov.uk link to the check flooding, or they can ring our floodline service directly if anybody's got a pen and a paper handy. So floodline number is 0345 988 1188, and that's a 24/7 number, and people can ring that and get signed up in that way if they prefer. And what people can do, which they might not always realise, is they can give us 5 different ways to get that flood warning when it's issued. So it can go to mobile phones. You can get it either as an audible message, or you can get it as a text message, and that's something that you then click on through and it takes you through to the gov.uk website. The other ways that you can get it also as an email. So a lot of us carry our phones around with us, don't we, these days? And so to see it visually on your phone directly is another option. It's just really helpful if people have got, like, obviously more than one person in the house and there's more than one different phone number. But make sure you make the most of the service by giving us those 5 ways to reach you. Just make sure that wherever you are, whether you're on the move, maybe you might be out at work or on holiday even, it means we can try and do our best to get that message through to you. So that's our kind of flood warning codes and what people can do when they get those different codes, and things like thinking about the emergency bag as well. So that's our main service.
Thank you, Rach. Going back to the grab bag, we have got a grab bag day on our household preparedness day on the 18th of September. So we'll talk to you more about what to put in your grab bag. And that is really important if you have to leave your house quickly, whether it's due to a fire or whether you need to get out of your house due to flooding. It's also really important. I know you mentioned, Rachel, about the prescribed, you know, any medication that you might have. So it's really important that if you do need to leave your homes, that you have take your medication with you, or know what you are taking. So people, if you do go to a local authority reception centre, that we know what you're taking, we can arrange that. There's a lot of information on the gov.uk website. It still astounds me how many people haven't signed up for flood alerts, and it's so easy to do. It's not something, you know, we would encourage people always to check their risk, even if they think they're not at risk of flooding. And that's really easy to do on our website as well, to look at the actual maps that are on there and see if your property's within that. And it's really easy to do. As I say, all you need to do is put your postcode in, or the area where you live, and it'll come up and let you know if you are, and then you can just sign up straight from there. But so people have the option of signing up directly to the flood warning service, but we do have agreements with some of the mobile phone companies. So if people have had a warning in the past to a mobile phone that they weren't expecting as a text message, that's what that is. But it's not all of the mobile phone service providers. So do make sure that we can reach you on all of the ways that you've got available to you, just to make sure we can get that message through to you. Yeah, that's great. And it's not just river flooding that you might suffer from. It might be just from surface water, which happens quite a lot. And I know in Northamptonshire we've got quite a few hotspots that do flood. In all over the UK there's hotspots. So have a look to see whether you you are at risk of flooding, and sign up for the alerts, sign up for the severe weather alerts as well. So I'm going to come on to Tina and Andy next. So talk to us a bit about wildfires, which has sort of been on the increase over the last, well, few years. Hello, Andy and Tina.
Hi everyone.
Sorry, afternoon. We're a bit late to the party there. So brilliant information. Thank you to all the previous speakers, because obviously the fire service do get involved as the end result of a lot of these things. So if there is flooding, we get involved in potentially pumping out someone's property. If there is obviously someone trapped in water, we get our boats out to try and rescue them. And certainly when you mentioned kind of weather in terms of driving, we would end up potentially, if there's a lot of surface water, cutting people out of their cars if they were trapped in their cars. So a lot of this we do get kind of involved with. So being prepared obviously stops the end result, which is us turning up. So obviously at the moment, you mentioned, Joe, we're having a bit of a hot spell. So we launched our wildfire kind of summer, but we launched it at the beginning of the summer holidays, and it hasn't kind of really, we've only had the odd kind of couple until this weather's kind of taken off the last few kind of days. So over the weekend we did suffer, unfortunately, from a number of wildfires, and we're going to kind of talk both ways on them. So I'll kind of briefly cover how they can accidentally be started, then I'll hand over to Andy to kind of do that deliberate kind of fire setting element. So they happen accidentally for a number of reasons. People obviously don't realise that dried fields and grass catch light and spread incredibly quickly. And it can be something simple like someone driving along and they throw their kind of cigarette butt out of the window, not thinking about it, and then before you know it, sort of there's a trail of destruction behind the car, where very quickly that verge is set on fire and probably spread either along the verge or spread to the adjoining field, and that can happen incredibly quickly in dry weather. We also have people dropping cigarettes when they're on walks in woods or across fields. We have people having barbecues and picnics out in nice open spaces. Again, having a barbecue, if it's damp on the grass, might not matter as much because it won't spread. But if you have a barbecue, you think it's out and you leave the hot ashes, then obviously that can then kind of pick up momentum. It can be just smouldering away for several hours, and then that can end up as a fully blown fire. And when we also have that same issue, not just in wildfires, but in people's gardens. So people having barbecues where they put the hot ashes under a tree or by on some mud by a shed, and then sort of garden sheds and sort of garden furniture ends up on fire as well. So it's kind of that knowledge about, if you've had a barbecue, safest way to put a barbecue out is obviously water, to pour that on the hot coals afterwards to make sure they're out. They're not going to sort of smoulder for several hours. And also make sure that if you are having a barbecue, if people are under the influence of alcohol, it's the inappropriateness of maybe where you're having that. So if people they've gone to a nice sort of beauty spot and they're maybe having a barbecue, they're maybe not thinking about so much because they're drinking where the barbecue is it out, is it left unattended, and then we add into that maybe the people are also getting into water if it's a very hot day, and then obviously can get trapped in kind of water as well. So cold water shock on a hot day is incredibly it's incredible. People think it's so rare. Why would water be, on a day like today when it's 30 degrees outside, how can water still be under the surface so cold? So there's all the dangers of that as well. So that's the kind of accidental ways it can happen. So I'm going to just hand over, actually just before I hand over to Andy, there is one more accidental way, which is very rare, but we've had it happen a few times, and that's refracted kind of light, so radiated heat. If people have like dream catchers hanging in their window, in one instant over the weekend, it was actually just the glass itself that set fire to some curtains. So that intense heat, it has to be very hot and it has to be for a prolonged period of time. So it has to be kind of an all day at kind of late 20s, 30s. But that can still, if it's on one tiny point, and it can set fire. We've had boxes of tissues on a windowsill. We've had curtains that have set fire by radiated heat. So that's another accidental way, but it's obviously a little bit rarer than kind of the other ones we've mentioned. So I'm going to hand over to Andy, who's going to have a little chat about deliberate fire setting and give you some information about how people can report that if they actually see that happening.
Hi everybody. So deliberate fire setting. We always seem to see a spike in deliberate fires during school holidays, and certainly coming towards the end of this school holiday, with the weather improving, we've seen spikes in certain areas. Now, some of these are attributed to young people, and young people don't realise. They think they're experimenting with fire, just think, oh, it's only a small little fire, but before they know it, it's completely out of control. And as Tina's already muted, we've already had a few wildfires this week, and some of those have been reported as potentially deliberate ignitions. The problem with that is they take up a lot of our resources, okay, and this delays the time that we can get to proper emergencies. So these silly little fires that people are starting, we could potentially be responding quickly to an road traffic collision or house fire, etc. So we can attend those incidents. The sorts of fires we're seeing are a bit of grassland, bit of shrubbery, in wooded areas, etc. And these fires soon get out of control. So what we're saying to people is, and I will mention this again, what 3 words? If you're in the countryside and you see a fire, that's quite important to us, because that you don't have a postcode in the countryside like you would in an urban area. So by using that what 3 words helps us to respond quickly to those incidents, because we know exactly where we're going to. We also urge farmers to use what 3 words as well, because obviously a lot of wildfires occur in fields, etc. If you see a fire, in the first instance, call 999, okay, and we'll respond to that. If you have any information around deliberate fires, you see somebody setting a deliberate fire, obviously still call 999 in the first instance, but you can report any information you know to Fire Stoppers, which is part of the Crime Stoppers family. So you can do that by calling 0800 169 5558, or you can go online to firestoppersreport.co.uk. Obviously, we're not interested in the information around my neighbours having a lot of bonfires. Those sort of incidents can be reported to your local authority as an environmental nuisance. But if you have any information, as much information as you can, report it to Fire Stoppers. That will help us to identify suspects and bring them to court. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Andy and Tina. That was very informative. And I know I'll speak a couple of about a month ago, one of those Chinese lanterns it got sent up and it landed on someone's roof opposite my house. So I know what it's like. People just need to be aware of, these can have a big impact on sending them up. They've got to come down somewhere. And
it's not just falling on property, it's falling on wildlife.
Yes.
Falling onto haystacks, dry stubble, etc. We don't condone the use of Chinese lanterns. However, people will carry on using them. Yeah, and on into cattle as well. Cattle and animals, and big impact. You also mentioned, Tina, about water awareness, about falling into water. We have got the Water Awareness Day on the 14th of September, and the Safe Escape Day if you have a fire in your house on the 12th. And I know, Tina, you're joining the panel next Friday to talk about those things as well. So that's great. Can I so to wrap up today, I don't know whether if anybody's got any questions, please put them through to the chat. But to wrap up today, I'm going to just come back, and I'm going to come and I'm going to come to Hazel first. Just to talk about, what do you get out of 30 Days, 30 Ways UK, and what's your best day? What do you like about it the most? Then I'll come to Rachel, then I'll come to Andy and Tina. So if I come to to Hazel first, what do you like about it?
Thanks, Jo. Well, I like the severe weather day because working in the Met Office, we like, well, the severe weather can be very interesting. But just in general, the 30 Days, 30 Ways campaign, there's so much information and it's put so simply that everybody can understand it and it doesn't take a long time to read. I just think it's, excuse me, a great campaign overall, and long may it continue. And thank you for all the hard work that you put in to make it the success that it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Hazel. I'm going to come to Rachel now. Rachel, what do you like best about the campaign?
I think it's just a great opportunity for partners to come together as well and tell people more about the work that they're doing, because not everybody knows what we do and how passionate we are about what we do, and you know how regular it is for us to work together. It's not unusual, it is quite the norm a lot of the time, and not just in an emergency, but you know when it's not in an emergency as well. But again, the severe weather day, and then I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the household emergency plan day that you've got coming up as well. I think that'll be a really good one, because there'll be lots of hints and tips for people there about how they can plan for different emergencies and have that ready to go for whenever they need it.
Yeah, and there is also a Hidden Heroes Day that we've introduced on the 29th of September, and that joins the National Hidden Heroes campaign. So that would be quite good to actually give back to people that we know that go above and beyond. Tina and Andy, what do you like best about the campaign?
I think for my, sorry, I think I'm butting in there quickly, just in case you're going to say the same thing. My point of view, I really like the simplicity, like it's been already said. It's really pleasant to look at, it's really easy to understand, it's really interactive, it's a whole family thing. It's involvement in getting everyone in the household and gives them a real opportunity for a whole month to think about these things, because let's face it, nobody really wants to think about these things and they're boring. And we spend a lot of our time preaching about these things, but people think, oh, do I really need to listen about this? Does it include me? But it gives that focus on a whole month of just really concentrating on those things in a really fun and interesting, engaging way. And I think it really helps us in terms of an agency to get those really important messages across in a fun way. And like you've already said, it's really interesting for us all to work together as well and to realise where we interact with services. So I love it. Sorry, I'll probably now take a stolen your thunder.
Everything that Tina said.
Yeah.
No, I think people are learning from each professional about what they do and safety messages, etc. But we're also learning from other professionals about what they do with safety messages.
Yeah.
So every day is a school day, isn't it? So no, it's a really good campaign. It's fantastic.
Thank you. No, that's brilliant. And I think, I mean, I what I get out of it the most is all of your organisations working together, and lots of other councils, local resilience forums across the UK. They're all sharing their best practice. We all, as colleagues, we're all sort of learning from one another. And for the members of the public to actually go away and pick up those skills and tips, that's important for me. And also this year we've introduced the quiz, so each day people can actually do a really, really simple quiz, but by entering the quiz they can then be in a prize draw at the end of the month to get some prizes. So for people to remind people to actually do the quiz each day, but we've also got a survey, a preparedness survey that we're sending links out each day for people to fill in. We've been doing the survey since 2015, so if people to do the survey, we can look and see how many people are getting better prepared. So I'm going to wrap up today. Thank you ever so much. It's been so informative about your organisations and listening to you all. So thank you, Tina, thank you, Andy, thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Hazel. The next panel is on the 15th of September at 11 o'clock in the morning, where we'll summarise that week. So thank you very much, and see you all again, and keep watching the campaign. Thank you.